I got to say, your governor's a rock star. Let me tell you, when Governor Scott Walker stood up and took on the union bosses, and when we saw vicious personal attacks, when we saw vicious threats, and millions of men and women across the state of Wisconsin stood with your governor and said, "We got your back," I want to tell you, it inspired millions of Americans across this country. It inspired me. And it demonstrated that when we, the people, stand together, we can beat the special interests that are bankrupting our kids and grandkids. And the courage and principle that Scott Walker and the people of Wisconsin demonstrated in that fight over and over and over again is exactly the courage and principle we need in Washington, D.C. to turn this country around. And I am so humbled, so honored to be standing here with Governor Walker. Scott, thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your tremendous leadership. You know, you can learn a lot about a word by looking to its history, looking to its roots. If you look at the roots of the word politics, it has two parts. Poly, meaning many, and ticks, meaning blood-sucking parasites. And that is a fairly accurate description of Washington, D.C. But you know, we're here tonight for something a lot more important than politics. We're here tonight because our country's in crisis. We're here tonight because we're bankrupting our kids and grandkids. Because our constitutional rights are under assault each and every day, and because America has receded from leadership in the world. And it's made the world a much more dangerous place. And yet I'm here tonight with a word of hope and encouragement. All across the state of Wisconsin, all across this country, people are waking up. And help is on the way. This next election is going to focus on three critical issues: jobs, freedom, and security. Let's start with jobs. I want to take a minute and talk to all the single moms who are working 2 and 3 part-time jobs, who've had your hours forcibly reduced to 28, 29 hours a week because Obamacare kicks in at 30 hours a week. I want to talk to all the truck drivers, all the plumbers and electricians, all the union members, all the working men and women with calluses on your hands, who've seen your wages stagnating year after year after year. Cost of living keeps going up, and yet somehow your paycheck doesn't seem to keep pace. I want to talk to all the young people coming out of school with student loans up to your eyeballs, scared. Am I going to get a job? What does the future hold for me? And you know, the mainstream media, they try to tell us this is the new normal. This is as good as it gets. Well, let me tell you, that is an absolute lie. You know, it's easy to talk about making America great again. You can even print that on a baseball cap. But the real question is, do you understand the principles and values that made America great in the first place? The heart of our economy is not Washington, D.C. The heart of our economy is millions of small businesses all across the United States of America. You want to unleash jobs, what you have to do is take the boot of the federal government off the back of the necks of small businesses. If I'm elected president, we will repeal every word of Obamacare. We'll pass common sense health care reform that makes health insurance personal and portable and affordable and keeps government from getting in between us and our doctors. And we will pass a simple flat tax. So every American can fill out our taxes on a postcard. And when we do that, we should abolish the IRS. We're going to rein in the EPA. And the federal regulators who have descended like locusts on small businesses, killing jobs all across this country. And we're going to stop amnesty and secure the borders and end sanctuary cities and end welfare benefits for those here illegally. And let me tell you what's going to happen when we do all of that. We're going to see millions upon millions of new high-paying jobs. We're going to see jobs coming back to America, back from China, back from Mexico. We're going to see manufacturing jobs coming back to the state of Wisconsin. We're going to see wages rising for Americans all across this country. We're going to see young people coming out of school with 2, 3, 4, 5 job offers. We'll see morning in America again. The second critical issue this election's about is freedom. You know, the passing a few weeks ago of Justice Scalia underscored the stakes of this election. It's not just one, but two branches of government that hang in the balance. We are one liberal justice away from a radical 5-justice majority, the likes of which this country's never seen. We are one justice away from a Supreme Court that would strip the religious liberty from Americans all across this country. We are one justice away from a Supreme Court that would effectively erase the Second Amendment from the Bill of Rights. We're one justice away from the Supreme Court making us subject to the World Court and the United Nations and international law and giving away U.S. sovereignty. Now, two debates ago, Hugh Hewitt asked a question about religious liberty and the Supreme Court. And Donald Trump turned to me. He said, "Ted, I've known a lot more politicians than you have." Well, in that he is correct. Donald Trump has been supporting liberal Democratic politicians for 40 years. I have no experience with that. But Donald continued. He said, "Ted, when it comes to the Supreme Court, when it comes to religious liberty, you got to learn to compromise. You got to learn to cut deals with the Democrats and go along to get along." Well, let me be very, very clear to the men and women of Wisconsin. I will not compromise away your religious liberty. And I will not compromise away your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. third critical issue in this race is security. For 7 years, we've had a president who abandons our friends and allies and who shows weakness and appeasement to our enemies. Now again, 2 debates ago, Donald Trump explained, if he were president, he said, he would be neutral between Israel and the Palestinians. Well, let me be very, very clear. As president, I will not be neutral. America will stand unapologetically with the nation of Israel. And anyone who can't tell the difference between our friends and our enemies, anyone who can't tell the difference between Israel and Islamic terrorists who want to murder us, that raises real questions about their fitness and judgment to be commander-in-chief. You know, just 1 week ago, we were all horrified by yet another terror attack, this time in Brussels. And every time we see one of these attacks, whether it's Paris, whether it's Brussels, whether it's San Bernardino, President Obama goes on national television and refuses to even utter the words, radical Islamic terrorism. Instead, he lectures Americans on Islamophobia. This last attack, I think President Obama found it very inconvenient. It interrupted his baseball game with the Castros. And, you know, wasn't it delightful to see the president palling around with communist dictators in front of a giant portrait of Che Guevara? Wasn't it remarkable to see a joint press conference where Raul Castro stood up and said, let me tell you all the horrible things about America, and then to see President Obama stand up and say, you know, Raul, I agree with you, America's terrible. Is it asking too much to have a president of the United States who will actually defend the United States of America? Over the last 7 years, we've seen our military weakened, readiness degraded, morale of the troops plummeting. And you know what? As a nation, we've seen this before. We've seen another left-wing Democratic president, Jimmy Carter, weaken and undermine the military. And then in January 1981, Ronald Reagan came into office. And what did Reagan do? He cut taxes. He lifted regulations. Small businesses exploded. Millions of new jobs. It generated trillions in new government revenue. He used that revenue to rebuild the military, and we bankrupted the Soviet Union and won the Cold War. I intend to do the exact same thing with radical Islamic terrorism. We're going to repeal Obamacare and pass a flat tax and pull back the regulators and stop amnesty. And we're going to see millions and millions of new jobs created in America. It's going to generate trillions in new revenue for the government. And we're going to use that revenue to rebuild this military so it remains the mightiest fighting force on the face of the planet. No longer will our military be governed by political correctness. We have leaders here at home. We have strong, principled leaders like Sheriff Clark who stand up and keep us safe here at home. Sheriff also knows how to make a Texan feel at home by wearing his boots. But I'll tell you, Sheriff, for the jihadists across the face of the globe, Come January 2017, a day of reckoning is coming. We are not going to weaken. We are not going to degrade. We are going to utterly and completely destroy ISIS. And you know, one of the most shameful aspects of the last 7 years has been this president sending our fighting men and women into combat with rules of engagement so strict that their arms are tied behind their back, that they cannot fight, they cannot win, they cannot defeat the enemy. That is wrong. It is immoral. And come 2017, it will end. America has always been reluctant to use military force. We are slow to anger. But if and when military force is needed, we should use overwhelming force, kill the enemy, and then get the heck out. So let's talk a little politics. A year ago, we had 17 Republican candidates in the field. It was an amazingly diverse, young, talented, dynamic field. What a contrast with the Democrats. I mean, the Democratic field consists of a wild-eyed socialist with ideas that are dangerous for America and the world, and Bernie Sanders. But over the course of the year, we've seen what a primary is supposed to do. The field has narrowed. The field has narrowed, and where are we now? Where we are today is there are two candidates that have any plausible path to winning the Republican nomination, me and Donald Trump. Now, Wisconsin is a battleground. The entire country, its eyes are on the great state of Wisconsin. This state, the men and women here, you have a platform, you have a megaphone where you are speaking not just for this state, but for the entire country. And I will say, for the 65 to 70% of Republicans nationwide who recognize that nominating Donald Trump is a train wreck. That's actually not fair to train wrecks. That nominating Donald Trump elects Hillary Clinton. Hillary not only wins, she wins by a big margin. And if Hillary is the next president, the Supreme Court is lost for a generation, the Bill of Rights is lost, our kids are buried in trillions more in debt, and we stay in the same economic stagnation we've struggled through the last 7 years. What we are seeing happening in Wisconsin and all across the country is Republicans are coming together and uniting behind this campaign. Of the 17 candidates who started, we've now seen 5 of those candidates come together supporting this campaign. We've seen Rick Perry and Carly Fiorina and Lindsey Graham and Jeb Bush and your own tremendous Governor Scott Walker. That is the very real manifestation of the unity we need across this country. To win, Republicans have to stand together. We have to unite. If we are divided, we will lose the primary, and we will hand the general election to Hillary Clinton. And it is the men and women here who are taking the lead to make that happen. So I'm here tonight asking for your help. I'm asking for each of you to continue standing up between now and Tuesday, to take it upon yourself, not just to vote, but I want to ask everyone here to vote for me 10 times. Now look, we're not Democrats. I'm not suggesting voter fraud. But if everyone here gets 9 other people to come out and vote on Tuesday, you will have voted 10 times. That's how we win. It is the power of the grassroots. It's the same power that stood with Governor Walker in the battle with the union bosses. It's the same power of the grassroots, the men and women who stood together and said, we can beat the special interests. If we stand together united, we're going to win the Republican nomination. And we are going to beat Hillary Clinton in November, and we are going to turn this country around. It took Jimmy Carter to give us Ronald Reagan. And I am convinced the most long-lasting legacy of Barack Obama is going to be a new generation of leaders in the Republican Party who stand and fight for liberty, who stand and fight for the Constitution, and who stand and fight for the Judeo-Christian values that built this great nation. Thank you, and God bless you.